morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, although it's not that beautiful because it's super windy. Apparently a storm's coming into town, but we're up here on a little field trip today, up by the cabins. I'll have Buffy explain what we're doing, but she's trying to work on deer-proofing her garden back home at the house. So we're up here getting willows, and she's using willows as a natural fence to keep the deer out. So we're up here kind of by our cabins. Those of you that subscribe, I did the last video where I walked around our cabins and showed you some of the old foundations and the old cabins that used to be down here in this place called Treasure City. And that's where we are right now. So Buffy's collecting some willows. I'm standing right by Crystal Creek, right here, only about 100 yards from our cabin. And I was just exploring around while she was cutting some willows, and I found some cool stuff that I'm going to show you. Probably going to have some wind noise again, but Buffy's dragging her willows up to the truck. So there's our cabins. I showed this last time. This is an old foundation for something that used to be here in Treasure City. And I didn't really go up and explore it. And it goes up all the way up here, and you can kind of see the rocks and how they're put together with this old mortar and concrete. And these old bolts, I think, I'm not actually sure. Yeah, these are definitely bolts of some sort that have just been left here. And look, here's old remnants of some sort of a wood trough that came down from the road, which I think is actually not in the place where the road was back in the day. But who knows what this was, a little cabin. It's probably about 16 by 10 feet. It's pretty neat. And let's go over here. Look at this stuff, some of the stuff I found over here. If you listened to the last video, I talked about how back in the day in the 1800s, way up here on the hillside up there is the hidden treasure mine. And there used to be a cable car system that brought the ore from that mine all the way on the hillside, all the way down here to where we're standing to process the ore. And check out what I just found laying on the ground over here. So there's a bunch of tin around here, old metal, and this is totally the cable from the old cable car. It's an old stranded steel cable. It is heavy, heavy, heavy duty. So this is literally the cable from the cable car from the 1800s that brought the ore down to Treasure City. And there's a lot of it up here. I don't actually know where the end of this is. It goes all the way around through the trees, and then it kind of dives down underground, and it's solid underground there. I can't get it out, which is maybe good. Nobody will steal it, but it goes down here towards Crystal Creek. This is Crystal Creek right here. We're just kind of sneaking our way through the trees and looking for artifacts. Let's see what else we can find. Just some old metal strapping in the ground here. Up here it looks like, what is this? Maybe, I don't think it's a plate, or maybe the lid to some sort of a bucket or can. Looks like a lid to a big can that maybe somebody has shot back in the day. More scraps of metal over here. This looks like maybe it could have been an old, I don't know, an old fire ring maybe. And a bunch of that old tin up in here. This is where that cable was. Collection here of old nails. My understanding, back in the 1800s, they made their own nails. And so that's what these look like, kind of homemade nails, bolts, just a collection of them in here. This stuff, it's hard to, this stuff's really heavy and solid, whatever it is. Steel, I guess. Ooh, this looks like an old, something was bracketed on here back in the day. It's kind of fun to look at this and try to imagine what this was, how the pieces go together. A lot of stuff like that up here. And there's Buffy down at the old hidden treasure mill site. Showed you this in yesterday's video. And there's a lot of willows right there, right by the edge. So I guess it's a good spot to get willows, I don't know. But she's cutting them down, and we're gonna take them back to the truck, and then we'll show you how they get installed into our garden. With a nice view in the back of the river. Can you see it down there? So that's actually Alpine Gulch, and that's the Alpine Creek, I think it's called, coming down Alpine Gulch and flowing into Henson Creek. River, which is the river down here right in front of the Hidden Treasure mill site. So a lot of the rivers kind of confluence together right here. Down here at the Hidden Treasure, some more cool artifacts. This neat coiled steel wire. Must have been wrapped around something back in the day, but still survived all coiled. This is one of the few remaining areas where there's still a lot of wood over here. I wouldn't want to walk on it though. It looks like it's pretty rotten. Look at these massive threaded steel bars. I mean, could not be any more solid into the ground. I wonder how far down that goes. And there's one just open here, and there's one actually embedded into this concrete. I don't know, the way this concrete's broken, I bet this one was embedded in concrete too back in the day, and it's just kind of broken and gone. But I imagine something just massive must have threaded on top of that on both of these. What the heck would that have been? Oh, they're all over the place over here. Look at all these threaded bolts into the concrete. So I'm reasonably sure this was the end point for the cable car system. There's a bunch of that steel cable here. You can see it there and kind of all wrapped in. This looks like it goes way down under the ground, so who knows what's down in there. But all that old cable is still sitting here kind of wrapped up with these big posts and supports. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is literally where the cable cars came down to, right here. So they start way up there on that mountaintop, way up there at that Hidden Treasure mine, and then come all the way down and ended right here, I think. I'm guessing, I have no idea, but I think. And then somehow the ore gets kind of dropped off here and then flows downhill towards the water to get processed in this whole mill site. It'd be pretty incredible to be able to go back in time and actually stand here and see what this looked like when it was operational. Just amazing. I found this tin can, pretty intact. What did this hold? No idea. Came back up to check on the water. Check out our previous video on the gravity-fed water system, and we found that if we kept this drain valve off, this tank got pretty murky pretty quickly. So we found a little balance here where the drain valve is left on just a little bit, and there's still enough water coming in to keep this tank pressurized. The overflow is still putting out water, but at the bottom it's really kind of flushing out constantly, so the heavier murk and muck settles down and gets flushed out there, and the water stays pretty clear. So far it's working great. That little change made a big difference with the tank staying cleaner, and there's still unlimited, not unlimited, but plenty of pressure with this tank being full and being about 200 or 300 feet up from where the cabins are. So far so good. We can run both sprinklers at both cabins and have showers and water running and have plenty of pressure. So it's been great. And this is the mecca of willows up here by the water. So we came up here so Buffy can keep cutting her willows. She's down there in the water cutting willows. Got him strapped to the back of the ATV. It's going pretty well. More willows coming though. That's about 1/100th of what she needs to go all the way around the garden. So this is a big project.
Okay, on the willow garden adventure, and these guys loaded the willows and they're taking the scary turn. I absolutely refuse to ride up there. I walk every single time. Nice job! Okay. There they go. Now, the reason why we had to go so far for these willows is because I refuse to take them from places where they're doing just fine. These willow branches came from an overgrown area that needed to be thinned. Walking down from the willow adventure by the water really is a beautiful walk. It's steep, but I can usually make it up there at the same time or just a smidge after the ATV, and I'm just kind of a ninny. I almost slipped and fell and busted my bootay. I'm kind of a ninny, And I like the workout. I like to pump my blood and increase my heart rate and breathe this beautiful fresh air. Gary was laughing at me because I said I had to ask the spirit of the willows for permission to cut down those branches, and I did, because those willow trees are living organisms, and I'm cutting their branches off, their limbs off, and I really feel like it deserves a conversation. And so, as crazy as it might sound, I did ask the spirit of the willows for permission to utilize some of her prolific branches to protect my garden from the deer. And makes me feel better, and it's only weird if it doesn't work. So there you go. Yep, so we're taking this load, and it is one of, Gary would tell you, like 52,000. But I probably need, no joke, 10 or 12 more journeys like this to get enough willow to surround my garden the way I want to. And I estimated the progress that I made on the garden yesterday. I estimated it will take me 10 full days of work to do what I want to. Boy, it's windy. Okay, so there's a cold front blowing in. It's like 50 plus degrees today. Boy, my hair is beautiful. And there's a cold front blowing in. And so there's tons of turbulence with the temperature difference. And it's apparent. Also around here, the wind blows until the snow up high melts. It just is what it is. And I'm pretty sure that also has to do with temperature. So anyway, there you go. Nature walks with Buffy. Okay, here's the back of our cabin. And just want to point out these babies. You might not appreciate them, but these are wild iris, and they're coming up back there. And there's a little guy right here coming up. And in about a month, maybe less, a month, they'll have beautiful little iris flowers on them that smell like grapes.
We're coming up here, kind of the road between our two cabins. And Buffy pointed this out. I don't even know what I'm looking at. What is this?
Yeah, so you can see right here is the cribbing, and the rock actually used to support the old road. So the road used to go, it didn't go the way it goes now. It used to come down here into the meadow. So it used to kind of veer off of that county road up there, which I can't really show very well. But anyway, it took a diagonal route, dropped down into this meadow. And this is just some of the remnants of the original road and the cribbing that kind of held it all together.
I was saying earlier that the road where it is now is not where the road used to be, but I didn't know where the old road was.
Yep.
So it's literally right here. This is the foundation of the old road.
Yep, and it was the main road down into Treasure City.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
cool. Okay, I'm not sure that you can hear me over this wind, but this is a patch of stinging nettle, which we leave here because nettle is super healthy to eat. It's good to have around. The best time to harvest it is right now, when it's a baby nettle. And you harvest it obviously with gloves because it will sting you. But once this nettle is cooked, and typically it's used in like a nettle soup, but it's very nutritious. It's high in vitamin C and also other stuff, which I can't quote right now. But anyway, now is the time to harvest and make nettle soup. And look what's hiding right here. These are little mountain strawberries, and they actually have little blooms on them. Look at how beautiful they are. We will have little strawberries. These are actually strung throughout the meadow, and they keep the little critters fed. But aren't they gorgeous? Oh, how pretty. That mixed in with the nettle. And then over here you have a thistle. Wah, wah. Thistles actually feed the birds, but they are fairly noxious. And I try to get rid of them.
We didn't really film getting home, but we got home, we unloaded the willow. Buffy's out there right now trying to figure out how to attach it all to the garden to keep the deer out. And it's turning into a nice lazy Sunday afternoon. We've got hockey on TV, we've got 2 games today. It is Revenge of the Fifth, so we might have to watch a little bit of Star Wars later, we'll see. And it's just gonna be a nice, chill, relaxing Sunday afternoon. It's crazy windy outside because there's a storm coming. But yeah, so it's been a great day so far, getting willows.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to my happy place. This is my garden space in Lake City at our home. Roughly, I'll call it 8,500 feet. We are technically in zone 5A, so we have a super short growing season. Very little here is a perennial. Most things are annual. There are a few things that are perennial that I try to capitalize on. I use a style of gardening called hugelkultur. Basically spent the first year here in 2020 gathering organic material from our property. So did a lot of pruning the trees and finding dead stumps and logs and dead branches and just dragging them over here and putting them in piles. And then got a couple of loads of rocks from my dad and his property and built some rocks around that organic material, put some rocks around, and then was lucky enough to get a load of Gunnison Gold soil from a friend in Gunnison who has a ranch, and the soil at that particular ranch is absolutely amazing. I have been growing things for a long time, and this soil is by far the best. Now, the idea of the hugelkultur is that as the organic material that you put your dirt on top of breaks down and decomposes, it generates heat, releases nutrients into the soil, and also gives an environment for the little micro fungi to grow and thrive. And the heat draws in the earthworms, and it just makes a whole microbiome that is amazing for growing. So I have had successful gardening here. In fact, last year I grew 100% from seed and just put the seed in the ground, and it did really, really well. It's a little bit of an oasis for the wildlife around here. It's lush, it's green. I keep it watered with rainwater mostly. I have rain barrels that I can store 110 gallons of rainwater in, and I do. Our roof produces a lot of rain, and so it's like a little green oasis that all the critters, the deer, the ground squirrels, they all like to come and share in the bounty of the garden. While I'm all about sharing and I love Mother Nature and all of her creatures, I have to figure out a way to keep the deer out of this space. The first year I just used deer netting, and it worked for a while until they figured out they could jump through it, and then it didn't work anymore. And then I added, you can see back here, this fencing. My dad got a bunch of that fencing from a yard sale, and I put that around for the second year with the deer netting. And that worked for a little while until, again, they figured out, oh, we can jump through this, no problem. And then they show their friends, and then the garden is eaten by the deer. So this year, my plan is to reinforce the garden with some wire and also willow branches, which brings us to the journey we had today, gathering willow branches from our property, because my plan is to build a willow, not a wattle fence, but just a willow branch fence to create chaos that the deer do not want to jump through. So I'm going to quickly show you what my plan is, and then I'll be able to update you as I try to bring my vision to fruition. So here we go. Okay, so I apologize for the wind. It is really like one of the most windy days that I've seen here in a long time. It's about 55 degrees today, but it's going to be 15 degrees overnight. So it's a little tumultuous air in the world right now. This is my garden gate, basically the front entry. Last year at the end of the season, I kind of used willow branches to weave this arch. I wanted this arch, and then I added this arch back here as well. And I crafted this tangled inspired lantern, which I love. And it's actually really cool on. It's made out of a vinegar jug, in case you wanted to know. So building this arch inspired me to add willow branches to the fence. And you can see yesterday I had a few willows that we had gathered from a trip before. And so yesterday I spent some time just doing a little bit of a trial on what my plan is going to be all the way around. So I have that black fencing that I showed you before, and I'm adding to it just about 2 feet of this 3/4 inch wire. And then you can see where I have to cut the wire sheet in half. It has little spikies on the top. I'm actually making sure those spikies are upright so that things crawling over won't appreciate it very much. It'll at least slow them down. And then I'm adding these willow branches to the fencing. And so I'm just using, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I have some wire and some zip ties, whatever I can find to attach them. They actually, I mean, this wind is a good test. They actually really hold up nicely. And then I'm quite an eclectic girl, so I like to add little things like this metal sun, and I have a broken wind chime that is celestial themed, so I'm adding some of these guys. All right, and when I get finished with the entire thing, I'll be adding this deer netting, which was my original style, and I don't know if you can see it very well. There it is. I'll be adding that to the inside layer, just as like a triple layer of protection from the critters, and I'm hoping that slows them down. So as you can see, it's going to take a lot of willow branches to actually make this happen. I'm going to be attaching them in like segments. And then when I'm done, sorry about this wind, I hope you can hear me okay. When I'm done, I will be getting a ladder and working on the top and doing some weaving and some trimming. It won't look so chaotic and messy at the top when I'm done. I'm hoping to have it a little bit more streamlined. But that's the plan there. And then over here, you can see the willow that we gathered today. This is what's left of a pile I had gathered before. This is new, it's fresh, and it even has some pussy willows on it. So there's a chance we'll be growing new willow trees in the backyard. And then here's another little stack here. So that will get me started. I don't know how far that's going to go. It looks like a lot of willow branches, but they go pretty quickly. So anyway, that's the plan. Oh, I do want to show you these rain barrels I was telling you about, because they're pretty great. So here are the rain barrels. Our roof is a big roof, and just from one portion, one gutter, we collect 110 gallons of water, maybe multiple times, because it actually overflows. So this gallon is the first, or sorry, this barrel is the first in the series. It collects the rainwater directly from the gutter. As it fills, it overflows through this into this one. So this is actually a little bit of a cleaner one. And then when this one overflows, it just overflows out onto the ground. But you can see here that I have right now great water, 110 gallons to be exact. Boy, this wind is crazy. So wish me luck. We'll see how this goes. Thanks for following along. I'm happy to talk about the things that make me happy, which this garden project makes me happy. And it's going to be a lot of work, but it's the kind of work that I really enjoy. So with that, I want to say thanks for following along for our eclectic and wild adventures. And we'll update you as this project continues. And yeah, like our channel because we're likable people. See ya.